Marcus Hughes stood in the testing chamber with his hands clenched into fists. Around him, the walls glowed with the cold blue light of advanced technology. He was 19 years old, thin and pale from spending too much time indoors, and he was about to fail another test. The Kelthian examiner watched him with cold black eyes. The tall alien creature had skin like gray metal and moved with the precision of a machine. Its name was difficult to pronounce, so the humans just called it Examiner 1. "Begin the cognitive sequence," the Kelthian said in its flat, emotionless voice. Marcus closed his eyes and tried to focus. The test was simple in theory. He had to solve complex mathematical problems while the room spun around him. He had to track moving objects on screens while loud sounds played. He had to remember sequences of numbers that appeared and disappeared in seconds. 3 minutes in, Marcus felt dizzy. 5 minutes in, he could not remember the sequences anymore. 10 minutes in, the examiner stopped the test. "You have failed," the Kelthian said. "This is your 47th failure." Marcus opened his eyes and looked at the floor. He already knew he had failed. He could feel it in his chest, a heavy weight that never seemed to go away. The Kelthian made a note on its display. "Your performance suggests you lack the basic cognitive structures for advancement. Perhaps you should apply for maintenance work instead. The Council uses many humans for cleaning duties." The words hit Marcus like a physical blow, but he said nothing. Talking back to the examiners never helped. He had learned that lesson months ago. Marcus left the testing chamber and walked through the corridors of Harmony Prime Station. The station orbited a small planet and served as the main hub for the Dominion Council in this region of space. Thousands of beings from dozens of species lived and worked here. Most of them were not humans. The Dominion Council had ruled for 300 years. They were made up of the 3 strongest species in the galaxy: the Kelthian, who were logical and cold; the Vextari, who were cunning and quick; and the Zixnathi, who were strong and violent. Humans, according to the Council, were weak and slow. They did not belong in positions of power or importance. The Council had given humans simple jobs. Most humans worked as laborers, builders, and maintenance workers. Some humans, like Marcus's mother, were allowed to work in science and research because humans were good at following orders and doing detailed work. But even the smartest humans were never placed in decision-making positions. Marcus's mother was Dr. Ann Hughes. She was one of the top geneticists on Harmony Prime, but she had to answer to a Vextari supervisor who was not as intelligent as she was. His father was Captain William Hughes, one of the few humans allowed to command a warship, but his fleet was old and weak, made up of ships the other species no longer wanted. When Marcus reached his family's quarters, his mother was already home. She sat at the window, looking out at the stars. When she heard the door open, she turned to face him. She already knew what had happened. "Another failure," Marcus said. His mother stood up and pulled him into an embrace. She did not say empty words or false comfort. That was not her way. She waited until they both sat down before she spoke. "The tests are designed for Kelthian minds," she said quietly. "Your brain works differently. That does not make it wrong. It makes it different." "It feels wrong," Marcus said. "It feels like I am broken." His mother shook her head. "You are not broken, but I worry about you. The Council sees failure as weakness. They will use it against you if you let them." Marcus did not answer. He already felt the weight of the Council's judgment. He had heard the jokes in the corridors. The other young humans whispered about him. Even some of his family's friends pitied him. That evening, Marcus's father came home from his duties. Captain William Hughes was a strong man with gray in his hair and lines around his eyes. He had commanded a warship for 15 years, and the experience had hardened him. But when he saw his son, his face softened. I heard about the test, his father said. Marcus looked away. I failed again. His father sat beside him. Listen to me carefully. The council will try to tell you that failure means you are weak. That is a lie they tell themselves to justify their power. I have seen humans do impossible things. I have seen them survive things that would kill other species. I have seen them show courage when courage seemed impossible. Then why can I not pass a simple test? Marcus asked. His father was quiet for a moment. Because the tests are not simple. They are designed to measure one specific type of mind. Your mind is different. That may turn out to be your greatest strength. Marcus wanted to believe his father, but the words felt hollow. The council did not care about different types of minds. They cared about rankings and power and control. And Marcus was at the bottom of every ranking. The next morning, an announcement came through the station's communication system. A discovery had been made beneath the station. An ancient vault had been found in the lowest levels, buried under kilometers of rock. The council was organizing an expedition to investigate and retrieve whatever was inside. Later that day, Marcus received a message. He was selected for the retrieval team. He would help bring out the artifact. Marcus felt a small spark of hope. This was a chance to prove himself. It was not a test that measured his ability to solve problems or remember sequences. It was a real task that required physical work and careful attention. Maybe, he thought, this was something he could actually do. He did not know that the council had chosen him as a joke. The examiners thought it was amusing to include someone who had failed so many tests in this important mission. They expected him to make mistakes. They expected him to embarrass himself and his family further, but something was waiting in that vault. Something ancient and powerful. Something that had been sleeping for thousands of years. And when Marcus Hughes came near it, that something would wake up. The artifact. The council called it the Celestial Nexus. They had no idea what it really was or what it could do. They did not know that it had been built by a civilization that had ruled the galaxy before the Dominion even existed. They did not know that it had been waiting for a very specific type of human to activate it, and they definitely did not know that Marcus Hughes, the young man who had failed every test, was about to become the key to humanity's future. The descent into the lower levels of Harmony Prime took 2 hours. Marcus and the retrieval team moved through tunnels that had not been used for thousands of years. The stone walls were ancient, covered in dust and strange symbols that no one could read. The Keltian team leader was named Supervisor Grix. He was larger than Examiner 1 and had a scar across his face that he claimed came from a battle he had fought. He did not want humans on this mission. He had argued against it in the council meetings, but the decision had been made. Now he barely acknowledged Marcus's presence. The vault appeared suddenly as they rounded a corner. It was enormous, at least 50 meters wide and 30 meters tall. The entrance was sealed with metal doors covered in symbols that glowed faintly in the darkness. The doors had been closed for so long that moss and crystal had grown around the edges. Begin the scan, Supervisor Grix ordered. The Vextari technician, a quick-moving female named Shrill, pointed her scanning device at the doors. Data started flowing across her screen. She frowned, then checked her device again. The metal composition is unknown, she said. It does not match any element in our database. And there is something else. The doors are detecting our presence. They are beginning to resonate at a very specific frequency. Supervisor Grix stepped closer to the doors. Begin the opening sequence. Use the pattern we calculated. Marcus watched as the technicians worked. They sent data to the doors, trying to unlock them the way they would unlock a normal vault. Nothing happened. They tried again with different patterns. Still nothing. Hours passed. The team grew frustrated. Supervisor Grix was becoming angry. He ordered the technicians to use force, to try to cut through the doors with energy weapons. The weapons barely left marks on the metal. "This is pointless," Supervisor Grick said. "We will return with mining equipment and break through by force if necessary." But before anyone could respond, Marcus noticed something. The symbols on the doors were glowing brighter now. They were responding to something. He stepped forward without thinking. "Wait," he said. "The symbols are changing." The Vextari technician turned around quickly. "You are right, but we did not do anything. They are changing on their own." Marcus moved closer to the doors. As he approached, the symbols glowed even brighter. He could feel something in his chest, a strange pulling sensation, like his blood was responding to the light. Without fully understanding why, he reached out and placed his hand against the cold metal. The vault exploded with light. Marcus was thrown backward across the floor. His hand burned with pain, and his entire body felt like it was being shocked by electricity. The retrieval team screamed and ran backward, covering their eyes from the intense brightness. When the light faded, the doors were open. The vault doors stood open, revealing a chamber beyond that was filled with darkness. Supervisor Grick stood slowly, his gray skin smoking from the energy release. His cold eyes fixed on Marcus. "What did you do?" Grix demanded. "I do not know," Marcus said, gasping for breath. "I just touched the door." "The artifact is exposed," the Vextari technician said, "and I am detecting something else. Multiple power systems across the station are coming online, all of them at the same time." Through the open vault doors, Marcus could see it. The Celestial Nexus. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. It was a sphere of dark metal about 4 meters in diameter, covered in channels of light that flowed like blood through veins. The light was blue and gold in colors that did not have names. The sphere was spinning slowly, and the light grew brighter with each rotation. Alarms began sounding all across Harmony Prime Station. The lighting systems flickered. The gravity generators hummed with power. The weapon systems came online, centuries of dormant technology suddenly awakening. The Nexus was alive. Within minutes, the council members arrived at the vault. They came in person, walking through the tunnels in their protective suits. There was the Kelthian council leader, a creature named Vorath, who had ruled the region for 20 years. There was the Vextari representative, a female named Kryn, who was known for her cunning. And there was the Jixnathi warrior, a massive creature named Vex, who rarely spoke but whose presence commanded respect. When they saw the Nexus, they stopped moving. "My gods," Kryn whispered. Vorath stepped forward slowly. "Shut down the activation sequence. Return the artifact to dormancy." The Kelthian technicians tried. They sent commands to the Nexus from their devices. They tried to interrupt the power flow. They attempted to seal the vault again. Nothing worked. The sphere continued to spin, and the light continued to grow brighter. Marcus watched from the side of the chamber. His hand still burned where he had touched the doors. Something was happening to him that he did not understand. His blood felt hot, like it was boiling inside his veins. His vision was becoming sharper, and he could see things he had never seen before. He could see the energy flowing through the Nexus. He could see the connections between the sphere and the station. He could see pathways of power that linked everything together. "The council leader is right," the Vextari technician said, looking at her scanner with shock. "This is not just an artifact. This is a weapons system, a defense network. The entire station is connected to it." Vorath turned to face Marcus. "You did this. When you touched the vault, you activated it. The question is how." "I do not know," Marcus said. "It is impossible," another Kelthian said. "No human should be able to interact with ancient technology. Human DNA is too different, too primitive." But Vorath was studying Marcus carefully. Run a genetic scan on the human boy. Do it now. The technicians pointed a device at Marcus. When the results appeared on their screens, they all went silent. The results must be wrong, Vareth said. Check again. The results are correct, the technician replied. The human's genetic markers contain sequences that match the signature of the Nexus. Not perfectly, but significantly. His DNA is compatible with the ancient system. That is not possible, Kryn said. The Council has studied human genetics for 3 centuries. We have never found any connection to ancient civilizations. Because we have not been looking, Vareth said quietly. Or perhaps because we did not want to find the truth. But there was no time for more discussion. On every scanner across Harmony Prime, something terrible appeared. Ships were jumping into the system. Dozens of them. Hundreds of them. They were not Dominion Council ships. They were Korvax. The parasitic species that consumed civilizations was coming. And they were heading straight for Harmony Prime. The distress signal sent by the Awakening Nexus had reached them across the galaxy. After centuries of searching, they had finally found what they were looking for. The weapons of the ancient civilization were no longer hidden, and Marcus Hughes stood in the center of it all, his blood burning with ancient power that he did not know how to control. The Korvax fleet appeared in space like a plague of insects. Massive ships with jagged edges and organic-looking hulls began dropping out of hyperspace. The scanners counted them as they arrived. 100. 200. The numbers kept climbing. Captain William Hughes was in his command center when the alert came through. He'd been reviewing duty schedules with his officers when the alarm started screaming. His hands moved on instinct, and his mind became the machine of war that years of training had made him. Red alert, he commanded. All ships to battle stations. Lock weapons and shields. His fleet was small. 12 warships, some of them older than Marcus was alive. They were not fast or powerful like the Kelthian or Vextari vessels. But they were human ships, crewed by humans, and they would not run. The communication system crackled to life. It was Voreth's voice, coming from Harmony Prime Station. Captain Hughes, we are under attack. The Korvax have arrived in massive numbers. We are requesting immediate military assistance. William looked at his tactical officer, a young human named Lieutenant Sarah Cooper. She had been born on a colony world and had the sharp eyes of someone who grew up under open sky. She was looking at her screens with horror. Sir, there are at least 400 Korvax ships, she said. Our scanners are still counting. Some of their vessels are as large as our entire fleet combined. William nodded. He had already seen the numbers on his own screen. The odds were impossible. But he had faced impossible odds before. Set course for the station, he said. Best speed. All ships follow my lead. His fleet turned and accelerated toward Harmony Prime. The 12 human ships were small, dots moving through the darkness of space, heading straight into the teeth of an enemy that had never been defeated. Back in the vault beneath the station, Marcus stood with his hand pressed against the Nexus. The sphere had stopped spinning, but its light was brighter than ever. The channels of light that covered its surface pulsed in rhythm with Marcus's heartbeat. Supervisor Grix was giving orders to begin evacuation procedures. The civilian population needed to reach the escape pods. The station's weapon systems were powering up, but everyone knew they would not be enough against the Korvax fleet. Vareth approached Marcus carefully. The council leader's coal-black eyes studied the young human with something that might have been respect or might have been fear. The Nexus is bonded to you, Vareth said. It was not a question. I do not know what that means, Marcus said. It means you can control it. You can use the weapon systems. You are the only one who can. Vareth paused. Will you help us? Will you use this power to defend Harmony Prime? Marcus looked at the Nexus. He could feel it now, a presence in his mind that was not quite his own. It was ancient and vast and powerful. It was showing him the station's defenses. It was showing him weapons that could destroy ships in seconds. It was showing him how to use them. "Yes," Marcus said. "I will help." Above the station, the first Kervax ships opened fire. Their weapons were unlike anything the human fleet had ever faced. They fired bursts of plasma that burned through space itself. They fired missiles that changed course in mid-flight. They fired energy beams that cut through starship hulls like paper. Captain William Hughes's flagship, the Valor, took damage on its first pass. Its shields flared and collapsed. Its hull split open, venting atmosphere and debris into the void. But the Valor fired back, and its weapons found their marks. One Kervax ship exploded. Another lost power and drifted helplessly. The human fleet was fighting with skill and courage, but they were being surrounded. The Kervax ships were moving in from all angles, tightening a net that would crush the humans. And something changed. The Nexus fired. Beam of blue and gold light shot out from Harmony Prime Station. It was not a narrow beam like a laser. It was a wall of energy, vast and unstoppable. It cut through the Kervax fleet like a knife through cloth. 12 ships were destroyed instantly. The beam pivoted, and 12 more ships exploded. The Kervax fleet hesitated. They had lost hundreds of ships without even seeing where the attack came from. Down in the vault, Marcus was breathing hard. His body was glowing with the same blue and gold light as the Nexus. His eyes blazed with power that was not his own. He could see everything through the station's sensors. He could see the battle in space. He could feel the weapons responding to his will. He fired again and again. Each blast destroyed dozens of Kervax ships. The parasitic fleet, which had conquered worlds and consumed civilizations, was being torn apart by firepower they could not match. But the Nexus was draining him. Marcus could feel his strength bleeding away with each blast. His body was burning from the inside. His vision was becoming dark at the edges. He was dying. "Marcus," a voice said. It was his mother. She had come down to the vault. Her face was pale with fear, but she was moving forward. "Do not let it destroy you." "The fleet," Marcus gasped. "I have to stop the fleet." "You have to survive," his mother said firmly. "We will find another way." His father was there too now. Captain William Hughes had left his command center and come to the vault. He moved to his son's side, and his strong hand gripped Marcus's shoulder. "The human ships are engaging the remaining Kervax vessels," William said. "We have damaged 3 of their capital ships. But we need more time." Marcus looked at his parents. He looked at the Nexus, pulsing with power and light. He understood now what he had to do. He had to merge completely with the ancient weapon. He had to let it consume him and remake him into something new. Only then would he have the power to protect everyone on the station. But he did not tell his parents this. He simply held their hands for a moment and felt the warmth of their love. Then he pressed both his hands into the Nexus sphere, and the light consumed him completely. The blast that came next was so powerful that it shattered 3 Kervax capital ships. It destroyed the remainder of their fleet in a wave of devastation that spread across all of space. Around Harmony Prime, the Kervax fleet was obliterated. Silence fell across the void. The battle was over. Humanity had won, but no one knew if Marcus Hughes had survived. Marcus Hughes was dying. He could feel his body breaking apart at the cellular level. The Nexus was consuming him, pulling his life force into itself like a black hole pulling in matter. His consciousness was fragmenting. Soon there would be nothing left. Only the ancient weapon would remain, dormant and silent once more. But then something changed. The Nexus stopped pulling. Instead, it began to merge. It was not consuming Marcus anymore. It was bonding with him, becoming part of him the way his blood and bones were part of him. The pain stopped. The burning sensation faded. Marcus felt himself becoming something new. He opened his eyes. The vault was silent. The Nexus had stopped glowing so brightly. Now the light was softer, warmer. Marcus looked at his hands. They glowed with the same blue and gold light, but it felt natural to him now. It felt like home. His parents rushed forward. His mother embraced him, tears streaming down her face. His father stood back for a moment, studying his son with wonder and fear, before pulling him into a fierce hug. "You are alive," his mother said. "The reading showed all your vital signs had stopped. We thought we had lost you." Marcus held his parents close. He could feel them now in a way he had never felt anything before. He could sense the electrical impulses in their nervous systems. He could see the warmth of their bodies. He could understand them at a level that went beyond simple human perception. "I am still alive," Marcus said. "But I am different now. I can feel it." Vareth approached slowly. The Kelthian Council leader was studying Marcus with an expression that was hard to read. When the leader spoke, his flat voice carried something that might have been respect. "The medical scanners are providing very interesting data," Vareth said. "Your genetic structure has changed. The Nexus has rewritten part of your DNA. You are still human, but you are also something more. You are the first of a new kind of being. Where is my sister?" Marcus asked suddenly. Anne Hughes gasped. "Katie. She was in the research sector when the attack started." Without waiting for a response, Marcus closed his eyes and opened his senses. He could feel the station now, all of it, connected to him through the Nexus. He could sense every living being inside it. He found his sister in the lower research levels, trapped in a sealed section with 100 other people. The section was losing pressure. They would run out of air in minutes. Marcus was moving before he even consciously made the decision. He ran through the corridors, and they lit up before him, the Nexus opening doors and creating paths. He moved faster than his legs should have been able to carry him. Behind him, his parents struggled to keep up. When Marcus reached the research sector, he found his younger sister standing in front of a window, looking out at the stars. Katie was 14 years old, small and intelligent like her mother. Around her, other civilians were panicking, trying desperately to find a way out of the sealed section. "Katie," Marcus said. She turned and saw him glowing with ancient light. For a moment, her face showed fear. Then she recognized him and ran forward. "Marcus, you are alive." He pulled her into an embrace. Then he turned and faced the sealed door. The metal was thick and reinforced. It had locked automatically during the attack and could not be opened by conventional means. Marcus placed his hand against the door, and the Nexus responded. The metal began to glow, not with heat, but with the same blue and gold light that filled Marcus. The door slid open. The civilians poured out. Running toward the escape routes, Marcus's enhanced mind was showing them through his connection to the station. An hour later, all the station's personnel were safe. The evacuation was complete. The Korvax fleet was destroyed. Harmony Prime was secure, but the Council was not satisfied with Marcus's answers. They brought him to an archive room deep in the station, and there they showed him records that had been hidden for centuries. The records were ancient, older than the Dominion Council. They detailed a civilization that had existed millions of years ago. A civilization that had spread across the galaxy and built weapons like the Nexus to protect against external threats. A civilization that had eventually fallen into decline. Before they fell completely, they had done something extraordinary. They had designed a new species. They had taken the genetic template of their greatest warriors and wardens and hidden it in a population of primitive beings on a world they called Earth. They had designed this new species with special abilities. adaptability, courage, the capacity for compassion alongside the capacity for violence, the instinct to protect those who were weaker. Humans. The Council had discovered Earth 300 years ago and assumed humans were primitive because they did not have advanced technology. What they had never realized was that humans had been deliberately designed to be weak in certain ways and strong in others. The tests that Marcus had failed were designed for Kelthian minds. But the ancient weapons like the Nexus required a different kind of mind. An administrator named Kresh, a Vextari who had access to the deepest records, finally revealed the truth. The humans were not a lesser species, Kresh said. They were the greatest creation of an ancient civilization. The Nexus was waiting for a human to activate it. All of you have been waiting, whether you knew it or not, for humanity to remember what it was designed to be. Vorath absorbed this information silently. When he spoke, his voice was cold. What do you propose, Marcus Hughes? Marcus had been given time to think while the medical tests were being run. He had spent hours connected to the Nexus, learning the secrets of the ancient civilization. He understood now what had been hidden from humanity for 3 centuries. He understood what his people were capable of. I propose that humanity be freed from servitude, Marcus said. I propose that my people be allowed to govern themselves and take their place as equals in the galaxy. I propose that the Nexus be used not as a weapon of conquest, but as a tool of protection. The ancients built it to defend against threats. That is what it should do. And if we refuse? Vorath asked. Marcus said nothing. He did not need to say anything. The Kelthian leader already understood. The Nexus was bonded to Marcus, and Marcus was human. If the Council tried to keep humans in servitude, they would face the power of an ancient civilization brought to life. But Marcus did not want war. He wanted peace. He wanted his people to be free. Vorath stood and extended his hand. It was a gesture of respect and agreement in Kelthian culture. I agree, the Council leader said. Let it be known throughout the Dominion that humanity is no longer under Council rule. Humans are free. The news spread across the galaxy like lightning. The species that had kept humans in servitude for 3 centuries were forced to watch as the human empire emerged from the ashes of their dominance. Other worlds, other populations that had been enslaved by the Dominion, saw what humanity had done and began to rise up themselves. But Marcus did not see himself as an emperor or a conqueror. He saw himself as a guardian. The Nexus had chosen him, and he would use its power to protect the innocent and defend the weak. He was no longer the boy who failed every test. He was something new, something ancient and powerful and human. And the galaxy would never be the same. 6 months after the battle, Harmony Prime Station had been transformed. The lower levels, once filled with darkness and ancient stone, now glowed with the light of the Nexus. The chamber where the ancient weapon rested had become a center of learning and research. Scientists from across the galaxy came to study the artifact and understand the technology of the ancient civilization. But Marcus did not spend much time in the chamber anymore. He had learned what he needed to learn. The Nexus was no longer a mystery to him. It was simply part of who he was, the way his heart or his brain was part of him. He was 20 years old now. In the 6 months since his transformation, he had aged more than most people aged in a decade. He had become a symbol of human strength and a bridge between worlds. But at night, when he was alone in his quarters, he was still just a young man trying to understand what he had become. Captain William Hughes had been promoted to admiral. He now commanded a fleet of 100 human ships, all of them equipped with the latest technology salvaged from ancient ruins. The fleet was a true military force, respected by every species in the galaxy. But his greatest pride was not in the ships or the soldiers. It was in his son. Dr. Anne Hughes had been named the director of a new research initiative, designed to unlock the secrets of ancient technology. Dozens of her scientists worked under her guidance. She had more resources than she had ever dreamed of. But her greatest achievement, in her mind, was watching her son survive and thrive. Katie Hughes had become famous among the younger generation of humans. As the sister of the first human to bond with ancient technology, she had attracted the attention of media broadcasters across the galaxy. But she had refused all interviews and public appearances. She preferred to keep her life private, studying advanced physics and wondering what kind of world her brother was creating. One evening, Marcus stood at the observation window of Harmony Prime Station and looked out at the stars. The view had not changed in 6 months, but he perceived it differently now. He could see the energy flowing between the stars. He could see the pathways that ships would travel. He could sense the presence of other civilizations reaching across the void of space. His father joined him at the window. They stood in silence for a moment before William spoke. "The Council wants you to explore the outer regions of the galaxy," William said. "They have received signals of distress from a colony that has been cut off from the rest of civilization. A species native to their world has turned hostile. The colony is being destroyed. The Council is asking if the Nexus can help." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. "Are they asking, or are they demanding?" "They are asking," William said. "Your freedom to choose is important to everyone now. The galaxy has learned that humans cannot be forced to do anything against their will." "I will go," Marcus said. "I will help them." William nodded. He had expected this answer. His son had always put the needs of others above his own. It was part of what made him human, and it was part of what the ancient civilization had designed into the human species. "The Valor is ready," William said. "We can leave within the hour." Marcus turned from the window. His eyes glowed faintly with the blue and gold light of the Nexus. "I am ready." 2 weeks later, the Valor arrived in the colony's system. The situation was even worse than the Council had reported. 3 cities were burning. Thousands of colonists were dead. The native species, an insectoid civilization called the Krellinor, were using biological weapons in overwhelming numbers to destroy the human colony. But when the Nexus fired, everything changed. The bioweapons were neutralized. The Krellinor ships were destroyed. The invasion was halted in minutes. Then Marcus did something that surprised everyone. He landed on the surface of the planet and met with the Krellinor leader. He opened his mind to the alien consciousness and shared with them what he had learned from the Nexus. The ancient weapons were meant to protect, not to conquer. The galaxy was vast enough for many species to coexist peacefully. The Krellinor had invaded because they believed the humans were taking their world. But when they understood the humans had no interest in expansion, they agreed to negotiate. Within hours, a peace agreement was drafted. The humans and the Krellinor would share the planet, each species governing their own territory. News of Marcus's choice spread across the galaxy faster than ships could travel. The human who had the power to destroy civilizations was instead choosing to bring peace. Other species looked at humans differently now. They saw potential. They saw honor. 3 years after the first battle, a coalition was forming. Humans, Krellinor, and dozens of other species who had been oppressed by the Dominion Council were working together to create a new kind of galactic governance. Instead of a small group of powerful species ruling over everyone else, all species would have a voice. It was not always peaceful. There were conflicts and disagreements. But the conflicts were resolved through negotiation rather than conquest. And when negotiations failed, there was Marcus and the Nexus to ensure that the strongest species could not simply dominate the weaker ones. 20 years after the initial activation of the Nexus, Marcus Hughes stood in the vault beneath Harmony Prime Station one final time. The chamber had been preserved as a place of memory and respect. The Nexus itself was no longer glowing with power. Its energy had been carefully divided and distributed to other ancient artifacts that had been discovered across the galaxy. They were no longer weapons of war. They were tools of protection and peace. Marcus was 39 years old now. His hair had gray in it. His face carried the weight of decisions that had shaped the course of galactic history, but his eyes still glowed with the blue and gold light of the Nexus. His parents entered the vault. They had aged too, but they had aged peacefully, watching their son build something better than the world they had been born into. The new council has been fully established, Anne said. Humans hold 5 seats. The position is prestigious now, and many are competing for it. Good, Marcus said. Humans should have a voice in the decisions that affect our people. William looked at the Nexus. The ancient sphere was still and silent now, but it still seemed to pulse with a faint inner light. Do you regret it? William asked. Do you regret becoming bonded to this power? Marcus considered the question carefully. It was something he had asked himself many times over the years. He thought about all the suffering he had witnessed. He thought about all the conflicts he had resolved. He thought about the humans who now walked freely across the galaxy instead of serving as slaves. No, he said. I do not regret it. The Nexus did not choose wrong when it chose me. I was meant for this. Not because of the tests I failed or the things I could not do, but because of who I am as a human being. Because I could not abandon people who needed help. Because I could not accept injustice. His parents smiled. They understood. They had always known that their son was destined for something greater than passing tests. They had always believed in him, even when the rest of the galaxy had dismissed him as weak and failing. Marcus walked to the center of the vault and placed his hand on the Nexus one final time. He could feel the ancient consciousness stirring briefly, acknowledging his presence. Then it settled back into its dormant state. He turned to his parents. Come, he said. There is still so much work to do. The galaxy is vast, and there are many worlds that need help. Many species learning to live together for the first time. Many conflicts to resolve. As they walked out of the vault together, the light of the Nexus dimmed behind them. But it was not fading. It was simply resting, waiting for the next time it was needed. Bonded eternally to the human who had failed every test, but had succeeded at being exactly what the galaxy needed. Marcus. Hughes was no longer the boy who was told he was broken. He was the man who had healed the galaxy. Above Harmony Prime Station, the stars shone brightly. Humans walked among them now, equals with the great civilizations, guardians of a peace that had cost everything to achieve. And at the heart of it all was a simple human who had been willing to sacrifice everything for those he loved. The galaxy had finally learned what the ancient civilization had always known. Humanity's greatest strength was not measured in tests or calculations or physical power. It was measured in courage, compassion, and the unbreakable will to protect and defend those who could not defend themselves. And that strength was something no alien civilization could ever replicate or defeat.